sanitized as it has become right now, the tendency is to always blame INEC for all manner of failures during elections. But these days, it would appear that INEC has done so much to raise its ante in terms of having the right caliber of people in political leadership positions if vote buying persists, and we'll get to that later. So on that note, it comes to me, with a lot of sadness, the reports emanating from Ekiti, especially, like I said, compared to the fact that we saw a lot of improvement in the core electoral processes in Ekiti. That gives confidence that aside this challenge of vote buying across board, because it's not limited to a particular political party, neither is it limited to Ekiti State. It's something that we witness all over the country. It could be exchange of cash, it could be exchange of materials, it could be all forms of inducement, foodstuffs and all whatnot. All this amounts to vote buying, because when we talk about vote buying, it's important that we do not limit it to the exchange of cash, for votes at the polling unit. In fact, there are advanced forms of vote buying. There are incidences where people are even induced before they leave their homes. They are giving cartons of Indomie, some are giving bags of rice. It could be 10 kg, it could be 5 kg, it could be 25 kg, it could be 50 kg, depending on the caliber, of course, of the voter. And surprisingly, what I find very appalling and what I find rather ridiculous is that even people who ordinarily should not partake in that take delight on the field in asking after it, even if it is not obvious. So it is one malady that we must get to know how to cope. And in that direction, I think it is more the responsibility of the law enforcement agents. We are happy that the EFCC, like you recounted, reported some arrests in the Ekiti elections. Oftentimes we hear about these arrests, but you don't get to hear, the follow-up.
Yes.
How did it end? How did it end? How many of them were prosecuted? How many were convicted? How many were discharged and acquitted? Because it is that, finality in itself that will become a deterrent, or that will serve as a deterrent to those who might want to indulge in the future. So it is sad, like I said. And what makes the Ekiti case very pathetic and heartrending is the fact that Ekiti State is one of the states that you have well-educated people.
True.
There is this joke around the places that out of every 4 or 5 homes, in fact, that in every home in Ekiti, you have
a professor.
Likelihood that you have a professor.
Yes.
So if this is happening in a state that boasts of that level of enlightenment, you now begin to wonder what the fate of states will be in places around the country where the education level is low, especially in the far north. So for me, for Nigerians have actually looked up to Ekiti to kickstart the fight, to kickstart the rejection of vote buying as part of Nigeria's electoral system. But we didn't get to see that happen. You couldn't even say it was on the decrease compared to what happened before. The only things you could say is that violence was on the decrease. Like I said, the electoral process witnessed laudable improvements in terms of Beaver's performance, in terms of election timing and all that. But this one is a no-no. It's a very sad development, and it is not a good omen as we build up to 2023, especially considering the sort of amount we also had that delegates were, induced with during the respective primaries of the political parties.
Yeah.
As we deepen the discussion, I'll also echo my mind on why this vote buying thing will remain very rampant, as we move forward.
Okay, good to know. Now, I recall during your discourse as well, you made commendations on INEC, which is worthy of an applause, if you ask me, because during the election, as it was monitored, we got reports that the electoral umpire has earned the commendation of several election observers on the just concluded election. The vote counting process at polling units was said to be transparent, while electronic transmission of results was effective and done timely. That's good to know. Now, but back to INEC. Do you think INEC needs to ramp up their voter education? Because we also got reports that the electoral umpire said that 8,888 votes were voided because the ballots were not done according to voting requirements. So over to you.
Well, in matters of education, you could say that no effort can be considered enough. So in that regards, one would say, yes, there is need to still ramp up whatever effort that INEC has put into voter education process. But you also recall that in terms of voter education, it's not something that is limited to INEC alone. There are a lot of civil society groups that are engaged in voter education. Some of them even get supports from, international donor agencies, and they do a lot, to augment whatever INEC is doing or has done. So why am I pointing that out? The real trouble is not with the voter education. Let me shock you. Do you know that particularly at primaries, we witness this at primaries largely. Do you know that there are people who think they have conscience, so they collect inducement left, right, and center, and at the end of the day, they deliberately cast a void vote. They deliberately go ahead to cast a void vote because the person has collected inducement from candidate aspirant A, B, C. So he or she now will tell you, they will tell the stories thereafter, that because he collected money from, not just one person, he didn't want a situation where his conscience will now prick him. So he made sure that the vote was the void vote that he cast. You also have that at the election camp. That's how rotten the system has become. And unfortunately, those who are watching by the sidelines don't know that these things are happening. So you see it's not all the void votes that you see that are products of probably our illiterate, our aged parents, who could not, actually cast their votes right. Some of them are cast deliberately. But having said that, if you look at the number of voided votes, both in the Ekiti elections and in the election, previous elections, you will see that there are improvements. So the need to ramp up voter education is there because it's working, especially on the part of those who are truly ignorant about how to properly cast their votes during elections. But you can also be sure that the political party agents are not sleeping, because during the campaign, each elected political officer normally has with him or her people who talk to the electorate as they campaign along and educate them on how to vote and vote properly. So I think it's a going concern, and as far as I'm concerned, we will keep recording improvements in that direction, and hopefully we'll get to a stage. My only fear, if I just pray and hope and look forward to INEC replicating what it did in Ekiti in the 2023 general elections. But Ekiti is an isolated election, so it's not really a good basis to judge. We'll be able to place INEC, on our crystal ball after the 2023 general election, when it will conduct elections, for example, the governorship election in about 28 states, and then conduct the presidential and national assembly elections across the entire Nigeria. That is when we will know how much of an improvement that INEC has actually, attained. But as per Ekiti, they did very well. I'm excited about the prospect of electronic transfer of results. I'm excited about, because if you look at the timing, yes, Ekiti is a small state with 16 local governments or thereabouts, we must admit. But then the truth is that we're into the before now. Probably by noon the next day, we will still be in the situation room. We wouldn't probably be talking about rounding up in the night. You understand? Because this issue of manual collation of results and manual transmission of results.
True.
But now, with this electronic introduction, you find out that things go seamlessly. At every point in time, the results are being tabulated, along. You could log on to INEC, you get an update, real time update, not just these ones that we used to do before. You wait for the returning officer from a local government who will now come to the state, and thereafter, if it's a presidential election, moves to the federal level. So for me, I'm excited about the prospects of improvement that we saw in Ekiti, and I just pray that INEC will replicate it. And the only way to achieve that, going back to your question, is that no amount of voter education, no amount of information exchange will be considered too much. So INEC must remain along whatever path that they have taken that has led them to the successes they recorded in the Ekiti state. I'm also excited, like I said, most particularly about the beavers. The other time we talked about, I made references to beavers failure in the Anambra governorship election, which led to the disenfranchisement of hundreds of thousands of voters.
True.
We didn't see that in Ekiti.
Yes.
And I just pray that whatever magic that led to that will be sustained, at the call of the national elections. And then I think after that, the INEC chairman and his men would have, beat their chest and say, yes, we've done well.
Okay, good to know. All right, now over to the political rift between Segun Oni. He has this firm base. He said that although he failed to win any local government, he put up a strong fight and won in many polling units, including that of the two lawmakers elected on the platform of the APC. Now, the Social Democratic Party SDP governorship candidate, Engineer Segun Oni, rejected the outcome of the Ekiti State governorship election won by Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji of the All Progressives Congress APC. He accused the APC of engaging in vote buying and security agencies of compromise during the election, adding the SDP candidate will not concede defeat and the party will meet to take necessary steps. So let's get into that.
Well, for me, it's been a culture here, a rather sad one, that even when elections appear sufficiently free, fair, and transparent, that defeated parties seldom accept the outcome of the election.
True.
It's just in very few elections that you have people who are gentlemen, and they will say, okay, only one person can win at a time. I find it absurd. I'm not saying that no one will say that the elections are completely, bereft of absurdities. Let me use that word. But then, whatever absurdities we witnessed was not anything near the proportion that we used to know before now. That being the case, I would want to think that the more appropriate thing for anyone who participated in that election to have done is to congratulate the winner. Why do I say so? I am a field politician. I've been in the industry. I know the game inside out. And I can tell you for certain that vote buying is not limited to any political party. That is the truth. However, as incumbents in Ekiti, it wouldn't be a surprise to anybody who understands how it works that the government, the APC would have more money to spend than most of the two other opposition it encountered. But the question is whether you're offering 1 naira for a vote and someone else is offering 5,000 per vote. The important thing is that you were outbought. That's all. You both are guilty. And then probably you decide not to partake in it because you do not have the money. And those who have the money are doing that. You don't also consider yourself a saint because Shegun Oni was an incumbent in that state at a particular point in time. And he won through election. And that election witnessed vote buying. So you cannot at one cough reject an idea when it is an idea you have been dodged in times past, or you would have been dodged in if you had the liberty. So for me, what we should be talking about is not rejecting election outcomes on the basis of vote buying, but like I said, INEC has sufficiently done its part in that regard. The cubicles have been enhanced in such a way that you can now cast your vote in secrecy. But what do we have? What we have, that's where the security agencies come in. What we have is a scenario where, because those who want to induce you one way or the other would want to be sure that you voted for their party before you could have whatever the peg is, whether it's money, whether it's material, or whatever. So what you have is a scenario where the voter, quite all right, voted in secrecy in the cubicle. But that same voter walks out of that cubicle and deliberately flips open the voter, the ballot paper in a manner that the political party agents around there, those placed in vantage positions to monitor them, will see that they actually voted for their party as they try to cast the ballot. And there is very little that INEC people could do in that regard. Oftentimes, even the security you have at the polling units are not armed. The police, by law, the police that man the polling units aren't armed. And sometimes in very volatile areas where, as you heard, this was rampant in 6 local governments, not in the 16 local governments. So in such volatile areas, those who want to partake in it hire thugs who will be well kitted in some locations that you wouldn't even know they are thugs. So that if maybe the party that feels intimidated, maybe the party that knows it cannot match the financial power of the other party, when the anti-agents resist any eyebrow, those thugs shout him down. And there is very little the police could do at that point. That's why you hear this report about police compromising and all that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the policeman who is there monitoring activity doesn't even have a pattern with him in most occasions. He's just there. And he cannot face the talks. And in every polling unit, there are just about 2 or 3 at the most. So at the end of the day, you find out that they are overpowered. They are forced to look, hands akimbo, while those things go on. Sometimes really, because the party, these agents know that the police are handicapped, or the security people they are handicapped, they also go and induce them beforehand, so that they look further away when these things go on. And the question is, like these arrests that were made, you will now discover that it's a storm action. It's a scenario where the 2 or 3 policemen at the polling booth will now call for reinforcement, and then armed police people or armed security will now come and make arrests. The question is, in how many or at how many polling units will you be able to be at one and the same time to effect such arrests? Since it's almost impossible for the armless, security that is going to do anything about the case. So it's a thing of the mind. It's a thing of the mind. And what is my own solution? My own solution is still education. We need to let the semi-literate and illiterate voters know that you cannot be complaining against bad governance, and at the same time, at the turn of every election year, you go out there because you are flicked 5,500, 1,000, 2,000 on the face, and then you forget the sufferings of the last 4 years, and then you take money to vote in a candidate who you know is not the best, on offer in that election, even within the gamut of those who are primed to win. Because in every election, you could be 20, you could be 10, you could be 15, but there will always be these 3 or 4 that the people know that from amongst these 4, we will have a winner.
True.
So if there's a best or a better person in that 4, Nigerians should learn to vote for that person with or without inducement, because that's the only way we can make progress. Otherwise, we will live in the vicious circle, because that's exactly what it is. So it's an absurdity that we must find ways to overcome. But in the localities, for example, if I'm on election duty for a political party, and these are things I have demonstrated amply over time, not once, not twice, not thrice. If I don't want vote buying to take place there, I have the ability to stop it. But it will also involve, because to catch a thief, you have to behave like a thief. And so that's the only thing. And I can't come on radio and begin to incite people to do what is absurd.
True.
But people must find a way, to, for example, I'll give you an example. Let me give you a definite example. In the 2007 Anambra governorship election, I was an agent of a political party in my local government, Ebusigo, and I was the person, and I'm aware I'm saying this on radio because it's what happened. I was the person who rallied and encouraged my fellow agents. When I discovered that the same original resources from ECNAs that we saw in the night had been turned off by the morning time when we came for distribution, I galvanized all the other agents, and together we resisted that distribution, and not a single material, went out of that INEC. They called the army, they called the police, they called all the stakeholders came, and I stood my ground. Probably because I'm a press man and it was known to them, and one had his links. Then I could activate reports on channels and other national televisions, and they know it. So probably they felt this situation is not one we can intimidate. Yeah. But it's on record that during that governorship election in Ebusigo local government, that not a single electoral material went out of the INEC office, then at the local government secretariat. It was. I didn't have a gun in my hand, but creatively we dealt with that situation, and I had repeated things like that over and over. But it depends, because you don't expect every other person to do the same. True. There are leverages we enjoy as journalists. Even the big boys sometimes, they really do not want to get in your way when you are resolved to do things, because the pen could be mightier than the sword sometimes. So, but this is an isolated occasion. It's not something that you could replicate everywhere. True. But that's why I'm saying that people must use what is available to them to resist vote buying. For example, one of the things that is working in my mind is that if vote buying is illegal, if anybody brings money to the polling unit and one way or the other, people lay hand on that money, it's free money. Yeah. It's free money. True. And if it happens in 2, 3, 4 polling units, I can assure you that the rest will run away. We have also done that during elections in my locality. Scenarios where, in fact, that is what has led in my localities today. What they normally do is that they now get an excise book. They say, if you vote for me, we'll write your name so that later we'll give you the money. Because you're not sure the money is safe if you come within the vicinity of the voting arena with the money. And oftentimes, even when people have gone to vote, a lot of them do not get the money because the agents dive the money, as they used to say. The money never gets to them. So sometimes it's also beginning to discourage people. One way or the other, we must find a way to put a wage as the people to vote buying. It's not something that should be limited to INEC. or the police alone.
True. All right. Thank you very much. My guest has been Comrade Chris McCool-Wosu, a journalist, a public affairs analyst, and a good governance advocate. And we've been on Vote by a Menace to the electoral process. Of course, the equity elections were cited. Before we go on a break, so my guest will take a breather, I have some outstanding concerns. Well, these are the concerns. PDP's distant third position shows Nigerians have rejected them. That's a political statement coming from the APC. And our president stated that Oyebanji's victory was a good omen for 2023 polls. President Buhari, who congratulated Oyebanji, saying his victory was well deserved, in a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Chifemi Adesina, said, "This is a good beginning for you and your team. The APC is getting stronger and more united. The victory of our party in Ekiti is an indication of the confidence of Nigerians in the ability of our great party to deliver quality governance to all." He charged all APC members across and outside the country to see this as a good omen for the 2023 general elections and work assiduously to ensure victory. We also have Adamu also speaking, the national chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi R. Adamu, saying that the Ekiti victory is a sign of APC's anticipated winning streaks in all future elections in the country. The victory is a precursor to expected victories of the APC at the Osun election. And in a congratulatory letter to Oyebanji, he said the victory was the result of his popularity as well as the strong campaign strategies and all whatnot. This is a political statement, and a strong one at that, because when someone makes a statement as saying, I recall from one of the headlines, it was saying that Nigerians have lost faith in the PDP. We understand the 2023 elections is in view, with this seeming statements saying that Oyebanji's victory was a good omen for 2023. There are some underlying statements that we're not receiving signals from. Well, take a pause whilst you peruse and assimilate this. We go on a quick break, getting the audience to participate, ask questions, and make contributions, and then you weigh in over everything they have. So stay on the other side. I'll be back shortly.
Of the conversation, dial 081-5101-7777 and 090-7112-1017. Please make your submissions known in a civilized manner. Put off emotional and all ethno-religious sentiments. Make verifiable claims on this platform. Respect the views of other colors, and 2 minutes is given to every color. Each person is entitled to only one call to enable others to participate. Point of view, airing your views for the transformation of our society.
All right, it's 9:40. It's time to get in your comments, reactions, and contributions on Vote Buying a Menace in the electoral system or the process. 0815-1017-777. We're live on Facebook as well. You can follow us. Hello, good morning. Go ahead.
Yes. Good bias. If they taboo to have such a language in Nigeria, doesn't stand again. The system has proved that we are being talking of good bias in Nigeria. What are we doing to ourselves? Are we protecting ourselves? How can we, with the good expression, nothing is going on, for somebody can go and sell his content for the next 4 years? You go and sell their content, which only 5,000 naira, even 10,000. You go and sell their content. Then we talk about our youth are lazy. Youth are lazy. We don't know what they are doing. Then we talk and sell content. Please, what I want to say is that you, I really want to help us. If I really want to help us, then that could be what they do and where they go and put. Take this decision and they put it high. So every person that is In Ghana, you just keep there. Because someone from that place is going to go to their house. That is how you will go and now that place. Let that place be spacious.
Okay.
You know how you go and buy. You let one person. Unless I think that's how you savior.
All right. Okay. Thank you. 0815-1017-777 or 0907-112-1017. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you social, and it's at Omega 101.7 FM. You can follow us, drop your comments, questions, and reactions. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Daku.
A very good morning to you.
Chief Noham from Momesh.
You're welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Comrade.
He can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, Comrade has deep down into that certain small and what happened. One is disappear from our party politics, our elections. It will not be something that will disappear very soon. But with time goes on with the let's say development of the trans what the youth are now embracing and changing before they were concerned. Now that there is a generational change in our election towards 2020, it will disappear with in future. But for now, we're not stopped because.
All right, sorry I had to let you go. I struggled through that conversation. Well, I think I got some parts. 0815-1017-777 or 0907-112-1017. It's Omega 101.7 FM. And we're critically looking into vote buying, even as we approach the electioneering year. The biggest of all, of course, is 2023. If this has become a menace, my guest, Comrade Chris, has actually weighed into this matter. And I think he's done quite an excellent job on delivery and educating the people, because the change often we talk about starts with you. If you know and you take it to the other person, that's how it prolongs. That's how it's like it's not necessarily a cycle, but it's like a straight line. It moves from one person to the other. Hello?
Hello, Dako.
A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. God bless you.
And bless you right back.
Brother Donatus Mwandi Echo from
Go ahead.
I bless the name of God for the resource person there in the studio. But I've said it time with that number. And this will it will be very, very hard for each and every one of us, Nigeria inclusive, until when we conform to the standard that Jesus has set before us. It is not easy for us to do things a normal way of doing it. It's impossible. It's not easy for us to do anything good where this country is concerned until all of us conform, both politicians, the led, and those people who are leading us. It's not easy. So I know people have called me in when I say it, but I'll continue to say it until all of us conform to the standard that Jesus has set before us. Brother, I'm going to one video from almost that we're going to think about it. God bless you in the call.
And bless you right back. You know, if we keep saying it's not easy, it will never be done. Evil prevails when good men do nothing or nothing and say nothing. We'll keep saying it. We'll keep saying it. And saying the right thing, of course. Hello?
Hello, good morning, Dako.
A very good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, this is Barazi from Nigeria.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the politicians have made the world so hard, even made Nigeria so hard to penetrate. You see this election. You see those barriers will never stop unless we the people stop it by ourselves. Because when somebody is hungry, there's nothing you can do about hunger unless we ourselves stop that kind of thing. President can be given money, but if you say no, they will not give. There's anybody who teach something and sell to another person. The person who buys has the most dangerous way. See, it's the election that shows what will happen 2023 if there is no to 2023, because this security is covering everywhere now, kidnapping everywhere. Like in our place here, they kidnapped somebody here in Oji River yesterday at a place. See what is happening everywhere. Please let us stop taking money from politicians. Don't tell your vote, it is their power. Use your vote to vote out those bad elements out so that Nigeria will grow. We hold Nigeria ransom. We are the people that will make Nigeria to grow, not politicians. We are the people electors. Vote for the right person. You see, all these things happening now, it is getting more and more dangerous to our terrorists. We are the electors. Let us vote wisely. Vote them out. The people who are corrupting Nigeria. Nigeria is fine. We have everything. Please, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. Truth is, a vote buying actually encourages poor governance and it weakens citizens' capacity to hold their elected officials accountable for their elections. Hello?
Hello, Dr. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, Francis calling from with this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, in the issue of vote buying, the other day I told one of us that forcing them to go and collect their babies, you are just wasting your time. Although they're supposed to have it. Some of them rushing to have their babies, they are rushing them to have their babies in order to use it to make money. They will raise it up. During that time, watch it. They will raise it up. I have my babies. How much is APC paying? How much is PDP paying? How much are they paying? The higher you pay, the higher they will put you. Forget all of them. They will come out. That is why I say, condemn all of them. They are all the same. You see them shouting, Victory, 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 victory. Watch that day. If you don't, victory don't bring much money, they will not vote him. Okay, they will come in social media to insult you, castigate you, talk about, but they will still do their wish. They will still use that GDM that you are forcing them to go and have, and you deny them having Holy Communion because they don't have their ability. They will use that ability to make business that day and get enough money. You watch it. Mm-hmm. We are the cause of our problem, not politicians. We the people that are voting the cause of the problem. We keep complaining. Politicians, they are doing this and doing this. Why can't us use that business and put them out? We will not use it to go them out, so rather we use it to make money, more money. Thank you.
All right, sad to know. Quite sad to know we still have people that I don't know what to say at this point in time. All right, I'll take one more call and then revert to my guest, the comrade Wonsu is on the other side. Hello?
Good morning, my dear Damo.
A very good morning to you, sir.
This is Chiwen from Akon.
Go ahead.
See, this is an issue of vote buying. The little problem we have in the and to address it is important. Blaming ourselves is not important in this case. The way out is what we needed. Now, the only way out, as long as I'm hungry, it's something that I need, come to me. And I've been hungry and looking for that. I must take that to which I need to get. To get me to blind, we just give order to the people. If you see anyone I would catch that person, in days, they will be dead. Everything that is at the top of the problem, we are saying our vote. The politicians have already equalized the masses with the poverty. They have no choice. Like me now.
Hello? 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 Go ahead. Just wrap it up.
The politicians have already equalized the masses. Poverty. The masses have no choice. The only way out is to touch everyone and vote. The only way out.
Okay, other point I had to let you go because I lost quite some of the details. But it appears you spoke more on the politicians having impoverished the electorate. So that's the reason why we have massive vote buying. And some persons are still saying that it could play out in 2023. Let's see if we can accommodate one more call. Hello? Hello?
Good morning.
A very good morning to you, sir.
My humble speaker
You're welcome.
is Pastor I'm radiating from Olo.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Speaker, the caller before the last call said what I had in mind, but I want to go further. As a matter of fact, the goods buying in Nigeria wants you. It is like that in the whole African countries. Do you know, I told you last week, if you remember, in Africa, it's all about going in, money, bagging, and bag of rice. But in the Western world, it's about ideas. Who have the best idea? That's why the man we celebrated yesterday, Patrick Lumumba, said, the people that have ideas are never elected in Africa. It is the people who don't have ideas are elected. Even when those who have the ideas came, they will not be elected. Because obviously they don't have the money. The question is, look at the people now talking about this or whatever have you. It's only about the money they will get. It's about the carrot. It's about the banana they're going to get. You will remember David Witness during the time of last Anambra election. You remember how the radio station, you know the type of you remember the advert of Cockroach and those votes. How much did you get at time? And the thing with all today, they are looking for that they're not to elect a real leader, but just to get the money, to get the carrots. That's why I'm telling people this very particular election is not going to solve our problem. I've told us how to solve this problem, and you say, oh, as I told you, these people are looking for money, not to change. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, thank you to Pastor Kafo. You were my last speaker. It's time to revert to Comrade Chris McCool Wosu. He's been our guest, and he's going to do justice to these seeming contributions. All right, over to you, Comrade.
All right. Like you said, very sad indeed. I struggled to hear some of them, but I had some of them loud and clear.
Yeah.
And I want to sum up the submissions with just one word. Pessimism everywhere.
Yes.
And that pessimism is quite founded. However, like they say, must we abide in sin that
grace abound?
So we need to do something about it. And I think that some of them touched on it. The first thing I want Nigerians to know is that the core politicians are far less in number than the electorate.
True.
At the election calls, you have people who do not belong to any political party in their numbers, who can actually decide to do things differently. What happens is that the very few politicians that there are at such calls must have gone to them, indoctrinated them one way or the other, tried to spread the pessimism, Nigeria is bad, you alone cannot make it good and all that. But somebody made the point, until the people begin to understand that they suffer more in the event of bad governance, and then embrace attitudinal revolution. That is what we need to get things right. We need an attitudinal revolution in this country. What do I mean by that? I often hold and I often posit that in the matter of bad governance, the followership is as guilty, even if not more guilty, than the leadership, because they enthrone the leadership. So until we understand that it is not the politicians that are often at the receiving end of bad governance, that it is us, the people, and then decide in our heart, because that's the only way we can make rapid progress on the issue of bad going. Decide in our heart that no, we cannot continue like this. Until we get to that point, it will be difficult. But I think with every sense of responsibility, that we are inching close.
Mm.
I'm sure you listened to the governor of Edo State
Yeah.
while he was addressing PDP stakeholders.
True.
Either yesterday or day before yesterday.
Mm.
He talked about, a new way of doing things, gaining consciousness in the minds of young people. So I do not agree that all the young people who are now resolved to get their PVCs are doing so because they want to make 5,000 naira, 1,000 naira, 1,000 naira recharge card, depending on their locations on election day. No, I am seeing, new energy. I am seeing, a thirst to do things differently. And I'm sure that though the redemption we seek or the redemption that we quest for may not, materialize in 2023, but I believe that 2023 will signal the beginning of an end to so many absurdities in the Nigerian leadership recruitment process. And that is why I feel encouraged and I feel strengthened to, encourage those who are now out. Today, if you go lash onto the internet, virtually everywhere, you find materials in form of comedy, in form of commentaries, in form of voice notes, expressing one form of concern or the other. There's this saying by my people that if you want to catch an animal, you need to behave like that animal to be able to catch it. So, peer pressure will come into this. And I think the level of volume of bad governance that we have experienced is beginning to excite the anger of, the relevant cadre of society that can help effect this change. And I am not as pessimistic as some of our contributors are that this energy that we see, the synergy that we see, the education, political education that we are witnessing will not culminate into something positive in 2023. It might not culminate ultimately, like I said, but as it is said, the journey of 1,000,000 miles
starts with
a single step.
Yes.
So I'm excited. For someone who's been in this struggle, just with a few for over 2 decades and counting, you can measure my excitement even from the studio. Because at some points you feel like giving up because you put all the efforts, you make all the efforts, just like they say, and at the next election call, you wouldn't even know whether it got better or it got worse. That was the scenario we had.
All right.
But you could say those were like water drops in the ocean. Now there's a concourse of activity. There's a cacophony of synergy that you never can tell. I tell people, the only thing is that like Ned Nwoko noted, structures are important in politics. It's not enough to say we are the people and we are the structure. A lot of organization needs to go into it for it to gain traction. We don't have so much time, but I can tell you that if we continue with this energy, after 2023, by 2027, Nigeria will witness, an entirely different kettle of tea.
All right.
In the election.
All right. Thank you so much, Comrade, for doing this yet again with me. It's been quite enlightening. I believe our audience were really, really impressed. All right. Thank you so much. See you on the other side as I wrap up the conversation right now. Thank you very much. The point of view has come to an end. It makes a return tomorrow, possibly looking to something else. I'm not sure yet. Some things are on my decks, but then until I get clarity, we will delve into something worthy, of course. We are Nigerians collectively. Let's make this nation great once again. Thank you to as many as contributed. We saw your comments on Facebook. We are live on Facebook and Twitter, on YouTube. Like our page, use social, Instagram. Yes, send across your comments, reactions, and contributions. Thank you very much for being part of the show. My name is Dakol Sadami. Have a good Wednesday.